I'm going to review FaceIQ's new diet. Let's see his new video.
Today I'm going to be reviewing some day of eatings in the primal sphere, maybe just some normies as well, through my new dietary perspective. So you're going to hear some different explanations, some different perspectives of why I think things are good or bad. Of course, anything can kind of be utilized in different ways depending on the context, more things than just red meat. And I guess this will kind of be kind of a hard launch of my new perspective, but I'll be having more content referring to this as well. It's going to be very different. So without further ado, this is going to be a fun video. Let's hop right into this review. The primal diet. Yeah, so this is an Agenus.
Agenus theology. So I'm not against Agenus, and he did many great things, but I don't see a net positive with this. In the morning, your insulin is very sensitive. Your blood sugar is also very sensitive. And when you eat a hyperpalatable food that is high in fat and protein, even if it's high in fat and protein, it will still raise insulin, which will crash your blood sugar. So it's good to avoid food in the morning. And this is why, naturally, as an adult, you start to not eat breakfast. Like many people report this. There are exceptions, but me, for example, like I don't eat breakfast simply because like my body prefers the stable insulin until the body has had enough time to be adjusted for a insulin bump from a meal, which is later in the day full of high fat and protein. But again, the cheese is hyperpalatable. It there is a compound called casein which attaches to opiate receptors, which makes you want more. It's hyperpalatable. It's essentially a drug, and it's not a bad thing. It's part of lactase persistence. We want as much milk as we can get as children, but us Europeans, we have lactase persistence, and so us adult Europeans, naturally want more and more dairy, even if we're not children.
Thing, that raw cheese binds to toxins, which there's a little bit of truth to that. He's starting off the day fundamentally, though, with fat and protein, which I found in myself and even in people I've worked with one on one with this newer approach. You kind of would probably want that later in the day. It could be even be a morning thing, but probably not the first
Exactly, yeah. You should wait until you've had meat.
thing. In terms of the first thing you eat, I would recommend probably fruit juice or raw milk.
Wrong. Do not do that. If you're going to put anything in your body in the morning, you should first have high fat, high protein from meat, from animal flesh, which will cushion the blood sugar spike. And so you don't get a huge insulin raise in the morning. And then when you get to work or school, after you've eaten, that insulin and that blood sugar will crash and you will get brain fog the entire day. Do not consume sugar in the morning unless it's cushioned, or avoid it as late as you can. I obviously agree that, coconut water, for example, is a good hydration, but it should be used sparingly throughout the day, and it should not be in the morning to spike your insulin.
Even put some honey in the raw milk just to fully refill
No,
liver glycogen
you
as
don't need to
well.
do that.
But it's if it's good for him, it's not bad. It's cheese is a good food. Raw cheese is very good. Yeah, it's interesting. He has juice, but look at it. It's the green. It's from the green leafy vegetable juice instead of fruit juice, which is more appealing to us for a good reason.
Again, Agenus was largely a theologian, and I'm sure a lot of his remedies were placebo. I just don't see mechanisms that could back up what he's saying. Things like this, where the claim is that it reduces toxins, it binds to toxins, it raises antioxidants. It's flawed because when you consume something and antioxidative compounds are raised, that means you are consuming an oxidative, stressful, damaging food. This is not food. So consuming this and seeing things like glutathione being raised shows that it is an oxidant and you should not consume it.
Better minerals actually have glucose and fructose, which you can use as energy, again, refill liver glycogen. So
Still don't need to do that.
that's interesting. And actually more B vitamins, things like that. So, celery and parsley juice, you'll have
Oh,
persalicins. It's hard
right.
to pronounce. They can actually make you very allergic to the sun in high amounts as well. You'll have more of the anti-nutrients instead of fruit juice. It also will taste worse. Interesting that they
No point.
utilize the green juices instead of the fruit juices. Very interesting. Yeah, the cheese
And
train.
again, my point is proved. The person consumed an insulinogenic meal. Their blood sugar crashed, and now they're eating again.
Idea. Yeah. Just look at it from
Endotoxins.
an intuitive perspective, well, right? Looks very unappealing. Raw liver itself doesn't look unappealing, but this really looks unappealing. And
Yeah.
fermentation often will, have lots of endotoxins produced because you'll have a lot of gram-negative bacteria eating certain sugars. Liver has sugar, so a lot of gram-negative bacteria will eat that sugar. And you have endotoxin, you have lactic acid. But
But fructose does the same thing in the intestines. It feeds gram negative bacteria, which also produces endotoxins. So, which one it like be consistent because you've had this new approach where you promote fructose and glucose. You're against the high meat, and you don't realize that the high meat still has the same end product as fructose consumption and digestion.
of which can burn the liver. So very interesting because they're trying to get as much bacteria as possible. Uh, Very interesting. I definitely wouldn't do this. I've never really been into the high meat thing.
It's unappealing for a reason.
Steak, raw steak's good.
It looks really unappealing still.
Lemon, honey, butter, that's actually very good. It's very good. Very nutritious. Again, I am a fan. I think there's a place for carbs in the human diet. So I think raw honey has a great glucose to fructose ratio. It can definitely be used. It's really good.
Certainly.
Enzymes and minerals as well to some extent. Sun is good, yeah.
Good.
Cheese and honey,
No.
that's good, yeah.
No. I'll report some symptomology as it relates to this. I would do the exact same thing where I would get honey, put it on cheese, and eat it. And it's a fucking drug. It is a fucking drug. I can't tell you how many slices of cheese I went through in a week when I added honey back. I probably went through 2 to 3 pounds of fucking cheese mixed with honey. I would eat probably about half a pound in one sitting mixed with honey because I couldn't stop. And then I gained 10 pounds. Like, this is the most unintuitive food you could ever eat. Never, ever mix this unless you're prepared to gain weight and feel terrible. Because after the cheese and the honey will spike your insulin and you will feel like shit. I can't tell you how mad it makes me to see this. It tastes really good and it's good on occasion, but this is not a daily food. You should not do that.
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah.
Again, same
Of
thing.
course, from, you have all the amino acids, supple vitamins. The honey, I do see a benefit in that. I don't really think the low carb and ketosis approach is good. And
Strawman. Carnivore isn't a ketogenic diet. Carnivore is a insulinogenic and ketogenic diet. So when you and he knows this argument and he used an n equals 1 to try and disprove it. When you're hungry, when you're truly hungry in the day, around noon, maybe earlier, maybe later, it's best to break that fast with a copious amount of protein, lots and lots of protein, and a little and some fat too. When the protein enters the body, it raises and bumps insulin, and it's a anabolic effect, and it bumps you out of ketosis for a couple hours. It regulates your electrolytes as well. So again, it's a straw man. It's not what ketogenesis is.
by the way, the whole leaving ketosis with protein thing, that's actually up for debate, I would say, based on what I've been
So
looking
he
into with that.
used
So
he used Bart K's friend and used his data, and he says that in the data it never recorded an insulin bump from the protein. But what FaceIQ doesn't realize, and what he lied about on the live stream with Marcus and Seed Oil Bro, is that it was not constantly controlled for and tested. So there were one-off tests on any given time, which it would not be the test's fault. That would be the timing's fault, and not constantly tracking.
it's good. It's very good.
Hyper palatable. It'll make you fat.
He does the
That's
raw
good.
white test,
I think this is the best part of what he's done in his diet the entire day, without a doubt.
I assume. Yeah, honestly, I think this was a very good day of eating. This is very good. He definitely has a good calcium to phosphorus ratio with all the dairy. Most definitely. Also fructose can, the way it displaces phosphorus, can reduce your need for calcium as well. So, yeah, he's definitely calcium maxed. And yeah, he has good ratios, I would say.
Good.
Good amount of red meat still. Yeah, this is a really good day of eating.
Mog.
That looks really good.
Oh, the eggs are unappealing. I don't see that. I don't understand that from FaceIQ. I can easily approach a raw egg over any raw steak or liver. I think raw eggs are the most palatable and delicious raw animal foods, besides raw milk, that taste delicious. This is a good
Yeah, so
balance.
this is an approach that I would have thought was very good in the past. Again, raw eggs will never be more appealing to me than the cooked white and then having the yolk raw, but this is good, yeah.
A warm yolk is one of the most disgusting things I've ever had. When you cook an egg and then you bite into the egg and the warm yolk flows out, it's one of the most horrendous things ever. I can't do it. I literally can only eat raw eggs now.
That's a lot of copper. This is good. Very
Look
good.
at his symptomology. Is he suffering from something? Is his skin being affected in any way? Is he getting heavy metal toxicity in any way? If he's not getting any symptoms, why is that a concern? And it's not like this is what he does every day. I'm sure he changes it up. I also wonder if that's a low deuterium water.
The collagenous amino acids really good for the skin.
Yeah. That is beautiful salmon. Wow.
Salmon and sardines probably not my first choice,
Wow.
but not a huge deal. But then again,
Those
then
eggs
he
look
he
nasty.
kind of layers on a lot more
No.
meat and eggs, and it's interesting. Like when you look at his day of eating, I would say these could be substituted for fruits, fruit juices, some honey, maybe more dairy with honey.
So you want to mix the fatty protein steak with sugar, and then when those are enzymatically digested and absorbed, they will be transferred to the cells where fat will try to get in and sugar will try to get into the cell. And depending on whatever is in the cell, it will lock out fat or sugar. It's unintuitive.
Because I would say he definitely is probably quite high on protein, definitely more than a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. I mean, if you look through the day, how much protein is he hitting? I mean, that could be like, I don't want to overshoot it, but that really could be 300 grams of protein.
There definitely is an extent to which you have to limit your protein because protein is anabolic, which will age you. So if you're trying to avoid aging and trying to live long, eating as least as possible while staying as full as possible will be your best bet. But things like glycation also age you.
A lot of that protein just going to be converted into glucose, but you're going
False. It's the backbones of triglycerides. That's what converts to sugar, to glucose. The actual mechanism by which we require glucose. Some from protein, but from triglycerides like glycerol, not protein. It's a terrible argument.
to have the ammonia byproduct if you're going super high protein, and you will have 15% more gluconeogenesis with no carbs. And so you will see typically in carnivore blood work. I've been reviewing so much of it. You do see cortisol not just upward but very very high. And cortisol comes with a lot of downstream effects. Hormones are signals. It's a signal I don't think you want super high chronically.
You'd have to prove why that is a bad thing. Obviously, there's a huge trend about cortisol, and it's become this label of the stress hormone, which is false. It's a hormone, it is a compound, and the body has adapted for millions of years to this mechanism. The body knows what's best. And so, if the body is raising cortisol to activate other mechanisms in more abundance, like gluconeogenesis, then there is a intuitive, primal, biological reason for that.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of its protein could be substituted for carbs, like fruit juices, fruits, honey. It make a lot more sense. It
Sure, maybe once a day, but at least keep the fat low in that meal.
would speed up his metabolism. It would raise his free
Speeding up your metabolism is aging. Why would you want to tamper your metabolism unless you have terrible symptomology with your metabolism?
testosterone.
I
It
mean,
would
look at that guy. He mogs you. He mogs the hell out of you. I'm taking his diet over you.
improve his DHEA. It would help convert a lot of that cholesterol into steroid hormones. I bet he'd probably see his whole
The sun does that. I mean, why do we need sugar to do that if things like UV rays do the exact same thing?
hormone panel kind of shift upwards in terms of just overall amounts of things like testosterone and free testosterone. And definitely his thyroid panel would improve, I would argue.
On the basis of what? By whose standards?
Yeah, definitely high in the protein.
Yours?
Good amount
I
of
mean,
fats, probably. And interestingly, like when you have a ton of fats, there, especially eggs, like this many eggs per day, there's still 20% polyunsaturated fats. So when you have so much fats, it's also inefficient because you don't need that much for the fat soluble vitamins, and then you're actually getting a solid amount of polyunsaturated fats. Today's day of eating probably
yeah, so egg yolks are liquid, so they're unsaturated, a lot of it, but they're also thick, so there is saturated fats as well. And obviously, this is not a problem if your symptomology doesn't say or show anything. If you don't burn in the sun, if you don't have any satiety issues, things like that, because ultimately it's a mitochondrial issue and electron transport chain. But if those things are not affecting you and you're not feeling the adversities of the polyunsaturated fats, then there is nothing to worry about. It's still a top 1% food.
that amount of eggs. I mean, and salmon. Yeah, like he probably had 20 to 30 grams of polyunsaturated fats today. When you eat excessive sugar, that just gets turned into saturated fat or monounsaturated fat. It can't even go to polyunsaturated fat. So I would say it would be better to take the risk of eating too much sugar and then that going to body fat, because that's going to be mostly just the very stable saturated fats. Whereas this, you're actually integrating the polyunsaturated fats into the membranes. Like that's how you can kind of look at it. So yeah, definitely I think his ratios are pretty off, but very nutrient dense just from a hormonal and thyroid perspective and from a fatty acid composition perspective.
So again, on what basis and whose standards would that be an issue? You're just kind of saying that, well, this will affect your fatty acid composition. It's begging the question that needs to be taken into consideration. Show us what the symptomology of this diet, like what causes symptoms and what happens from this. And obviously the guy in this video is not burning, he's not low ATP, and he's not leaking electrons through his symptoms. I could be proven wrong, but I think it's good to look at what are the net positives and net negatives of what he's doing.
That would be my recommendation.
Oh, I've seen this lady on Instagram.
Hey,
It's
Al, this is
gross.
really good. Take note already.
Gross.
So that's already 5 to 10 grams of PUFA, something to consider.
He also doesn't consider that they're a lot harder to digest. We eat food for energy, which is not really the correct label, but we eat food to power our bodies. And so, why would we eat something that takes longer to provide that energy? It takes about 2 hours to digest a cooked egg, such as this, but it takes about 25 minutes to digest a raw egg.
Avocado, again, avocado is something that's taken
And then the Ray Peat theology as well, raw carrots. There is a slight place in the diet for roots, but this is not a remedy whatsoever. The sardines will have lots of heavy metals, and the avocados have some mono and polyunsaturated fats, and the plant version of vitamin E, which protects the plant. And it's not the most terrible fruit because that vitamin E, it acts as an antioxidant for the unsaturated fats in the fruit, which means you're not going to oxidize anything, at least not in any abundance.
up your fat macronutrients and you're not getting the fat soluble vitamins with it. And then you're also getting, lots of mono and polyunsaturated fats relative to saturated fats. So I don't really see an argument for it from that perspective. It's not a lot, but this could have been raw butter. This could have been, some milk. You could get the dairy fat that way. It could have been raw cream instead of the
True.
plant fats. So then the sardines are kind of
I
contaminated.
would definitely opt for butter. And if you kind of just examine yourself when you're eating butter, you're like, whoa, like this little bit is like, I'm full. I can't, this is like, it almost gets gross. Obviously, it's not gross. It's not like your body hates the taste. It's just that thick, heavy satiety feeling that you're getting, and you're like, I can't eat anymore. And that's what a lot of normies, people who don't know about the primal or carnivore diet, they think that like butter clogs your arteries and stay away from it. It's gross. It makes me feel so heavy. It's like it's supposed to make you feel full, but raw dairy, not butter, like, milk, kefir, yogurt will have a completely different effect on your satiety because there is glucose or there's lactose, which breaks down into glucose, and galactose, which again down regulates leptin.
And I guess she has, kind of a raw carrot salad there. No issue.
And people make the point that the raw carrots bind to estrogen in the stomach or the gut, but why would you want to do that? Again, millions of years of evolution and your genes have pre-decided how your body should act and react to things. And so when you're producing a certain amount of estrogen in the gut, why would you try to tamper that with a binding substance that's an anti-nutrient? It blocks an essential process in the human body.
There. That's probably how I would have started the day. Oysters, really good, nice.
It's hydrating, it's nutrient dense.
Nice.
I've never seen that fruit. It does look like a lot of insoluble fiber, which is terrible for the gut. It ferments very badly. It's harder to break down, and it just adds tons of bulk. But things like soluble fiber are very soft, like pectin fibers. It's soluble. It feels good on the gut.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
It's a really good day of eating. It's really good. I just think you already have the oysters and the steak. I'd probably get rid of the sardine.
Well, that was my review of Fructose IQ's new dietary recommendations. Obviously, no one will ever be 100% correct on diet. It's still a learning process, and we cannot we can't 100% prove anything. This is a core and fundamental of epistemology, is that you can't know for sure about a certain thing when it pertains to science. So, but thank you so much for watching. And if you're looking for help trying to lose weight, trying to get healthier, my channel, my Instagram, and my TikTok offer the best advice, I believe, in my opinion. It's not a professional opinion, that you will hear. And it worked for me. I lost about 90 pounds. I got to the healthiest point I've ever been in my life, and I feel amazing. And it's heavenly. And so I want to share that with anybody who made it to the end and wants to take their life back and become healthy. But that's it for today. Peace.